Kitchen Brain. Kitchen Brain. Kitchen Brain.
All right, here we are back at Kitchen Brain Podcast today. I have another really special guest. We're talking to Mariana Delgado Gambini, co-owner of Chantilly Patisserie in Bronxville, New York. Incredible place. We're going to get into everything that they do there. Mariana and I worked together years ago. I would say 2007, about 13 years ago is when we met at Westchester Country Club in New York. Mariana was one of the pastry chefs in the shop when I got there, and shortly after I got there, she became the youngest executive pastry chef at Westchester at age 22. And she's here with us today, and I'm excited to dig in here with what she's been doing with Chantilly and her whole journey and transition into being an entrepreneur. We'll get into today's time with COVID and how that's affected business there. So let's get right into it. Mariana, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Yeah, so it's we speak sporadically throughout the years.
Yeah, we do.
Life is crazy, and you're a mom now. I'm a dad now. Everything is completely different than it was last time we were in the same place. But I'm fascinated by your journey. I've always been a fan of your work and your skill level as a pastry chef. And
Thank you.
yeah, just it's been really cool to see your progression from working at Westchester and then just taking that step out there to go on your own and open this amazing family business that you have. So I think kind of to catch everybody up here on the situation, I just want to learn about Mariana, like take us back to, I guess Johnson and Wales is where you went to school.
I did. Actually, I'll take you back. I'll even further. I came to this country when I was 9 years old with my parents, my sister, and my brother. So we became immigrants. My parents came when they were roughly my age. I won't tell you, a lady doesn't reveal her age, but, I haven't hit 40 yet. But that's when it really all started, watching my parents work really, really hard. From nothing, coming to a country where we knew no English. We barely had any family. And I watched my parents suffer a lot and work very, very hard. When I went to high school, there was I had to choose a trade, and I ended up choosing culinary arts. Maybe because it always reminded of my family in the kitchen. We had really fond memories of in Argentina, having Sunday dinner, standing next to my grandmother, putting the bread in the tomato sauce. And it just really gave me special memories. So I figured, okay, I love to cook. I love to be in the kitchen. Let's try this out. And after culinary in high school, I decided to go to Johnson & Wales in Providence, Rhode Island to do culinary, which I got my associates in culinary, and then decided I wanted to go to baking and pastry. I related a lot more. And that's when I really took it serious. The first 2 years of college was, I was 17 when I went to college. So I was very, very young. I was the youngest one of our group, and we had a great time. But I had to make a choice, either continue to have a great time or take it serious. And I decided to do baking and pastry. I got my bachelor's in baking and pastry and also got involved in competition. And I think that's where I got hooked up with Westchester Country Club, because at that time, the Culinary Olympics and everything was happening. And one of the chefs there thought it was going to be a very good fit for me. And that's how I ended up at Westchester Country Club as pretty much the only job I had right after college. I worked at different restaurants and kitchens during college, but I ended up in Westchester Country Club before opening up Chantilly. And that's when I met you.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know that you competed.
I did. Yeah, definitely. In the culinary team for Johnston Wales for the ACF junior team, and I was the captain there. And the reason why I got offered the position was because my piping skills were extremely fantastic. So it was something that I really looked forward to. It really got me into what I wanted to do. But that really changed throughout the years in Westchester, my opinion about competition and how things developed and how honest things are. So it was a very difficult decision, not continuing with competitions because I really appreciate it a lot, but it was kind of drawn into this picture for me in college, which is not the same picture that was right after that. It was a very tough decision for me.
Yeah. So your piping, you downplayed your piping skills, by the way. So I've been around some world-class pastry chefs. I've been to the Culinary Olympics 3 times. I've seen a lot of crazy pastry work, and to this day, your piping is my barometer for whether or not somebody is really good at piping.
Thanks.
Seriously, I'm serious. Whenever we and I'm not even, I'm not even close to a pastry chef. I have very, very few, if any, pastry bones in my body, and I don't pretend to. But I know talent when I see it, and I know like really solid craftsmanship. So when we have new pastry cooks or whatever come through our kitchens and they pipe, like the first thing in my head is, man, that is so far from what Mariana can do.
Thanks, bud.
So I mean, you mentioned that it was a lot different than what you had expected. What do you mean? Like what specifically?
I think the reality, for me, my personal challenge was that in school they teach you a certain something. I don't think I was very I mean, don't get me wrong, let me backtrack. My teachers that I had, my mentors in school and college, were amazing, and they really did prepare me skill wise. They really pushed me to be the best in a good way, because I kind of got pushed in certain ways at Westchester that were not very nice ways, but I didn't realize the reality of what the real world was going to be when I left college. I don't think I was very prepared for that. And going into a place where the pastry chef that was there was kind of took certain students and took them under their shoulder, but not others, very picky on who she would choose. It kind of made me really, how can I put it? I'm trying not to word it in a way that it kind of brought my confidence level down. And I think I mentioned this to you in the past, it's a man's world, I think, the culinary field. So it was really hard to, and being so young, to be put in a position where I was taken seriously. So it was really, really hard for me to continue pushing mentally and with the confidence that I needed to. So I kind of just started putting it to the back burner and I actually did get a chance to go to the Olympics, and it was something that it was one of the lowest points in my life, because I saw how disrespectful the chefs were in the kitchen that we went into, leaving it extremely dirty, food coloring everywhere. I felt like the respect for the food and other people weren't taken as serious as I thought, even though you're putting up these beautiful platters and all this stuff, out for the public to judge you. But then honestly, the way you get to that point wasn't something that I agreed with. Yeah. And I think because I wasn't down with how things were being done, I got pushed to the back burner. And I got sent home early. So it was just like, okay, this is not the type of person that I want to be. And unfortunately, I kind of got lost in that. And I found myself again when I started, planning for Chantilly to open.
What do you think they could have done? Because this is really kind of an important topic that I try to talk about a lot with people in the industry. Obviously the educators that are at culinary schools are amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
they really do an incredible job of preparing people with fundamentals with food. But one of the things that I often talk about is that ultra hyper attention on just the food kind of, I don't know, it seems like there's not as much emphasis on some other things that are really important to be successful. So you get out of school and you go and you realize that you could have been a little bit better prepared for the real world.
Correct.
What's the real world? I mean, how do you define what you're talking about there?
I mean, from my personal experience, I feel like just, and it's unfortunate because when going into Westchester, I met amazing people, and I also met not so amazing people. And it kind of programmed me into being this person as to where, you know, family life doesn't matter. You have to be at work all the time. Who cares if you get 3 hours of sleep? You still have to be there. If it snowstorms, you have to sleep at the club so you can be at work the next day. There was no, there wasn't any. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be such a Debbie Downer because my experience was good. I learned a lot from it, but there wasn't enough compassion towards a human being. I felt like I was a robot, and I feel like there's so much more things that are important than just looking at what a plate looks like. You have to have skill to talk to people, be able to be compassionate, be able to know that other people's families matter, and not just being a great chef and being able to put a good plate on a good dish on the plate. So not knowing that was what I was going to go into, and having, a master chef, working under a master chef was going to be a lot tougher than what I thought it was going to be. I always took it seriously. Don't get me wrong. I worked there for 5.5 years. I dedicated my entire life to it, what it seemed like my entire life before opening up Chantilly. But again, I learned a lot from it. I came to you to cry a lot, and, to vent a lot, because I felt like there wasn't that much emphasis or a lot on mental health, which I told you this, like, I really appreciate how honest and how open you are right now. And you've always been like that for me. But I think mental health has been always put in the back burner when it comes to my career and a lot of people's careers right now. So I think, go ahead.
Do you think it's possible? I mean, because, and I'm asking this because as I've been moving forward with trying to talk about things in our industry that, are typically taboo to talk about, I'm getting mostly positive feedback and a lot of support, which I appreciate. But there are still a bunch of people that I don't know that are sending me comments and things that suggest, and I know that this perception is out there, that suggest that trying to improve that aspect of our industry is hopeless, and this is just what it has to be. And I had a guy who commented recently, and his word, the last couple of things he said in his comment were, working in kitchens is like being in a fist fight, and you need to be tough, and that's just the way it's supposed to be.
And yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that's crazy to think of it that way. But the crazy thing is that that's how I left the club. That's how I left programmed, being tough, being, working 90%, not even 90, 100% of the time. Who cares about family? Who cares about the time off? Chefs don't get time off. You don't get a lunch break. You eat through your lunch break. I think that's crazy. And, going back or going into a little bit of opening up Chantilly, Maria will be like, she can honestly tell you, I did a 360 after kind of hitting a wall and, having that mentality. And I feel like when I started to really see that shit doesn't work, I started to feel very liberated. Like, no, people are not robots. People have feelings. I'm not saying, be soft or whatever. No, but I'm a lot more compassionate because I lived through, getting yelled at in the face, getting kicked out of the kitchen. Like, who the hell, does that?
Right.
Who the hell does that? And I left the club and I was asked to come back, which I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but then I would have, not met my husband there, or, I would have kept in touch with you and Hannah, So I think it's crazy to think that it can't change. I think it has to change. But there's also, a lot of men, a lot of older men who feel, this is my personal opinion, that you look weak if you, are compassionate. Who cares? No, you're a good person. Then you have to be a good person. Don't pretend to be something you're not. So that's something, again, that, I hit a wall and I needed to change. But I feel like what that person said, it does feel like that. It did feel like that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny you say that when you bring up the older generation, particularly men. And I know what you were getting at there. And I'm going to say it because I think this is important too. And not, I don't hear a lot of men saying this out loud. So I'm going to be the one here, or one.
Be the man.
I've worked with a lot of women in kitchens, and my wife is one of them, right? My wife is a chef.
Mm-hmm.
She is a more talented and knowledgeable chef than I will ever be. But, working with a fair amount of women in the business, I've heard a lot of men who are, in some cases at a higher rank, and you hear guys all the time speak negatively about tears. And, it happens, like, just so everybody understands, crying it's something that happens. It's an instinct. It's frustration.
Correct.
And you often hear people say like, oh, she's always getting emotional.
It's like a sign of weakness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's she's getting emotional again, or you shouldn't be so emotional, or you should
Correct.
just lock yourself in a room somewhere so nobody
Suck
sees
it up.
you doing that. And everything's an emotion. I mean, if you're going to be angry, anger is an emotion. It just manifests itself differently for different people.
Correct.
Some people decide to throw things and yell at people when they get angry or frustrated. And some people, it comes out in the form of tears. But it's the same emotion. It's shown differently, but it's the same thing. So to tell somebody, stop feeling however you're feeling right now, and it's like telling somebody, to stop sneezing. I mean, it's literally like it's literally a reflex.
Correct.
Like, you don't tell yourself, all right, I'm not happy with you right now, so I'm going to start to cry. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's not a conscious decision. And it drives me bananas when I hear people, tell females in any workplace, not just a kitchen, but like, you really get too emotional and you can't let your team see you cry. And that's part of the problem. That's become the narrative for everything in the back of the house is you just can't do that. You're not allowed to show what you're feeling at any point in time, whatever that means. And however it ultimately winds up affecting you. So bottle it up, act tough, and
Correct.
and come out of your office when you're ready to smile.
Yeah, and I feel like I had a lot of those days back before Chantilly that I was told to suck it up, go in the walk-in, go cry, whatever. There was like a tiny little freezer in the back in the bake shop, the cookie freezer that had a wooden door. And I don't know how many times myself and other female coworkers, including someone, very close to you, like we would go down there and cry together because we didn't want to be seen as weak. And that is just crazy to think, like to think that because something didn't go right or wasn't plated properly, you would get yelled at because you seem like you killed someone, or who knows? Like, it's just crazy to think that that's how the culinary field was, and I'm hoping that there is a change. You know, I'm hoping that people are starting to understand that that's not how you treat a human being. You treat them with respect. You want the respect, or you give it, you get it. But you know, there's still a lot of places that are like that, and I don't know if they're going to change. But yeah, no, one of the funny things for the shop that we opened, I always remember, and it always happens to happen to Maria, is that when we first opened, people would come in and be like, oh, the chef, he's French. He is wonderful. Like, all these French pastries or European pastries, you know, are great. Can we meet him? And all of a sudden, then here I am, like a 5-foot, you know, Argentinian immigrant who comes out, and they're like, what, a woman's behind this? And then we start getting, oh, well, a housewife, she's bored, she has nothing else to do, you know, she should be taking, you know, care of the kids at home. And it's just like, no matter what I try, I feel like there's always going to be like, well, she's a woman, she's too emotional, it is what it is. But when people didn't know that women own this shop, they were like amazed. But now it's something that I really don't care, you know, like people know who we are now, and they really respect Maria and I, and appreciate what we're doing. So, you know, when I was at the club, I had one mindset. I hit a wall when I opened up the shop, because I thought that was how you treated people. That's how you ran your kitchen. And then I realized, no, this is not how I want to be. This is not who I am. So I cry still. I mean, I do it. I try, you know, not to do it in front of everybody, but my staff has seen me cry. You know, there's no shame in that. It only, you know, makes me want to be part of the solution even more. But sometimes you need a good cry. It's fine. It's really fine.
Yeah. You know, my wife is like one of my heroes. And I think when you get to a point where, you know, you get married, and then you have kids, and then you start to see a whole other level of strength, you know, from somebody, and all of the things that she is able to coordinate and figure out. I mean, this whole school thing, I mean, if it was up to me alone, I mean, my kids would be counting rocks in the backyard right now. I wouldn't, you know, but she's got a classroom set up, and you know, it really bothers me how little the power of women is downplayed and ignored in society, in our industry, and all that stuff. It truly blows my mind. But you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
I like to think that we're moving in a better direction, but I think you know, we're definitely way behind the curve on where we should be with that.
Yeah, and I was very happy to see that, you know, like I said, we keep in touch, and then we go out of touch, but we always come back and we talk to each other. And when I started listening to what you were doing, it was like I instantly related. It's like, this is amazing. I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. Like, this is what I honestly feel deep down inside. So I can't be the only one that feels this way. I can't be. Like, you can't be the only one that feels this way. I think people are just too afraid to talk about it. Too afraid to be put down or say you're not strong enough. No, fuck that. I am strong. I built a business. I have a daughter. I take care of her. I know how to manage my time. I kick ass every single day. I cry. I take care of my staff. I'm understanding. And that is so much better than just standing in front of somebody yelling at them because they had a bad day and they don't know how to control their anger. So
yeah. So let's talk about the ass kicking every day. When you decided that you were going to start Chantilly, what was there something that inspired you? Was there something that said, you know, I'm going to take, cause it takes, and I had, another guest, Antoine Brinson, it was episode 1. And, you know, he did the whole, like, I'm going to just stop everything that I've been doing, and I'm going to take a chance on myself. And
I went over the cliff.
Yeah, you went over the cliff. That's right.
Yeah.
And you know, it takes a lot of courage to do that. So what was it in your head that said, like, I need to do this? Like, what made you excited about that?
Well, it's kind of like, it's kind of like a sad story, but it turns out into a great story because what we have right now, I was told by certain someone that nobody would hire me because I didn't really have too much experience out in the real world, or like out in the world other than where I was for 5 years. And that was just like, are you kidding me? Like, kind of like a light bulb turned on in my head. And I think my parents were also tired of seeing me go home and cry and just like sleep for days, or whenever I had a day off, all I would do is sleep. And it's just like, okay. So this location opened up. It used to be a TV repair shop. There was no kitchen. There was nothing here. It was just a little store that had a shit ton of TVs and radios that was here for 60 years, and it was going out of business. So my parents were good friends with our hairdresser next door. They told my parents, they were like, Mariana, this is opening up. Maria, this is opening up. Maria had nothing, no background whatsoever, and she is one of the best cake artists in Westchester.
And just to clarify for everybody, Maria is your sister and co-owner.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes, she's my business partner. And our parents sat us down. And this was around February because, the club used to close for a month, I think in March or whenever, February, whatever it was. And they said, if you want this, here it is. We'll help you. Do you want to open up a bakery? And that's it. We took a trip to Paris and ended up going to Paris, to Italy. And I fell in love with the food. I was so down and so down this like spiral that I was so depressed that I couldn't see the light. And then when I got out of there and I went on this trip with my mom and Maria, I felt excited again. Like I was like, oh my God, I can do this. My skill level, like I know how to do this, even though I was 20, 25. I was very young. Very, very young when we started looking at this, 25, 26. Yeah. And to think to open up your own business at 26 years old is very, very scary. But I went for it and we opened up the shop. We had barely any people come in at the beginning, but we kept pushing at it. And 11 years later, we're still here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into some of the things that you guys have I follow you on Instagram.
Thanks.
And if anybody wants to follow Chantilly on Instagram, it's at Chantilly Patisserie _. Just so you can get an idea of the things that they do there. But you had kind of a viral thing that is still fascinates me to this day, the cruffin.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away. I haven't even tried a cruffin yet because you won't mail them to Virginia. But that's okay. I'm going to try to get a picture up here in a second. But tell us about the cruffin. Where did that come from?
So the main thing that I tell people is that I did not invent the cruffin. I am constantly doing my research, and it's not copying other people's work. It's trying to take ideas, and that's how everybody works, trying to take ideas and, making my own as well. And we have such a fantastic croissant recipe, or such a fantastic croissant, that I kept seeing this bakery in Australia talking about cruffins. And cruffins haven't really been around for that long. They've been around for maybe about 5 years or so. And what it is, it's a croissant dough. There they are. It's a croissant dough that is shaped into a muffin and filled with different flavors. And it was in the back burner for about a year. And it's something that I just couldn't get it out. And I just couldn't get it out because things always came up. And finally, I told Maria, I need to take some time, get everything, all the dimensions properly, the baking temperature properly, and see what kind of fillings we're going to do. And then we decided to put it out there. And it was like one of the biggest things that we've ever had here at Chantilly. And we fill them with different flavors. We have cruffin days. Now it's a little bit different with COVID and everything, but we had hundreds of people come in and out the door during cruffin day, and they get to choose 6 different cruffins. And it's just fantastic because the base of the cruffin is our croissant and different
you guys have a
flavors.
pretty killer croissant.
Thanks. Yeah.
You guys are.
It's something I've perfected over the years. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you look at a croissant from 11 years ago to a croissant now, it's something that I'm always constantly working on. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it is definitely a fantastic product.
Sure. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware, because I have a really, really important message that I think we can take from your story here. So here's just some pictures that I pulled off of Facebook, of some of the things that you've done over the years. And you don't only do pastry stuff, right? I see you guys do sandwiches. You do breakfast sandwiches.
Correct. So our main focus is our baked goods, which is our laminated doughs, croissants, danishes. That is my expertise. And when I'm talking about expertise, is I learned it in school, but I also had to reteach myself on how to do things and how to perfect them to a way, that I want them to be. But we do have a cake program, which is custom cakes. We don't keep our cakes in our case. All of our cakes are made to custom order. And Maria, my sister, she's the cake artist. There you go. And then we do sandwiches, quiches, cake pops, confections. We have over 150 items on the menu. Well, we used to. Now we really, going into COVID, we had to kind of turn our entire business around and see what works for us, which is mostly our baked goods and cakes.
Yeah, these cakes are crazy. So Mariana made made our wedding cake for my wife Hannah and I, and
it was actually our first cake for Chantilly. So, and it was the first time Maria ever played with gum paste. And what was great about Maria is that she went to school for art, and we never ever in our lives worked with each other. And this was pretty much kind of thrown at us, and we just went with it. And again, there's no other person that I would rather own a business with than my sister. And she's an amazing cake artist, as you can see. I mean, we've done a few cakes for you guys, and if you follow us on Instagram, you can see the beautiful and the caliber of work that she produces is amazing.
Yeah, so she was I guess you would say a classically trained artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you showed her the medium of pastry ingredients.
Correct.
And she applied her art abilities to that, which is
correct. Yeah,
awesome.
I taught her the baking part. I mean, she obviously, because our family is very involved in the kitchen, she knew basics. But I cannot say that I taught her anything to do with cake. She did a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of, YouTube university, a lot of that stuff that she took on her own and had no choice to learn it. But her artistic side really complements, me with my, culinary background as well. So it was a perfect match.
Yeah. And you guys always, it always seems like you guys are having a great time.
We really do. There's no other way to, at the beginning, I'm not going to lie, it was very hard because my mindset was like, you got to work, you got to do this. I was an idiot. Like, that's not how you treat people. And I was training her the way that, I was talked down to. And then I don't know what snapped on me. I think one day she told me I was a complete asshole and that's not how you treat people. And that just changed. That really changed. And of course we have our arguments, but we disagree and we agree, but we agree most of the times. But we have to have a fantastic time here because it's our home. It's like our family. We work here. We're here all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty blown away by, where you came from, coming out of Johnson and Wales, going to Westchester. There was not a whole lot of professional experience, industry experience for you.
Correct.
And I want to highlight that because, again, when we talk about how we lead people and the perception of what it takes in the industry, and you talk about, paying your dues and, essentially you need to get abused at a certain amount of places for a certain amount of years.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, before we will let you move to this next position, or things like apprentices are seen and not heard, and all these things. And I see people more than anything get held in a position way longer than they need to be in that position, just because you need to pay your dues. And that the crazy thing about your story, and I want to preface this by saying you obviously were raised with incredible work ethic, and you were supported very well, emotionally and from a the work ethic perspective from your upbringing, which is
Yeah,
really important. And I'm sure that helped you a lot.
absolutely.
To have that, when somebody tells you nobody's going to hire you because you don't have enough experience, for you to hear that and to know in the back of your mind that you don't have a lot of professional industry experience, but to still turn it into this crazy, successful and amazing bake shop. The thing that I want to highlight is if we as leaders in kitchens were to invest, because not everybody has the support system growing up that you had or I
Correct.
had or a lot of people had, and that's the truth. So it's
Yep.
easy for people to hear me say this and counter it with, yeah, well, not everybody
Absolutely.
has that, and my parents weren't around, or I didn't have that kind of guidance. I get that. I totally get that. And I don't want to dismiss the fact that that's the situation with a lot of people. That's where I come in and I say, well, wait a second. If you are a leader and that that's the case, and that you might have people on your team that, maybe weren't as fortunate as you were to have that guidance in your life, isn't it our responsibility to instill that kind of work ethic into people and to push them? Because if we did that, how much could we cut the amount of time it takes for somebody to reach your level? I mean, just those pictures I put up, that's a small, very small, minute fraction of what you're capable of, and the amazing things that you're able to produce as a pastry chef. But if you look at your resume, I mean, let's face it, if you took Chantilly off your resume and you went and applied for a job as an
I don't know
executive
who would
pastry
hire me.
chef,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Yeah.
But
Correct.
they have no idea the
Yeah.
stuff that you're capable of. And I think that it's up to us as leaders, chefs, employers, to recognize when somebody didn't have what we had, but wants it and shows a little bit of promise, and be the ones who guide them through life a little bit and turn them into, somebody who has a little bit of a faster turnaround than we see in the industry, where, oh, you gotta, it's going to take you 10, 15 years to become an executive chef. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think it needs to be that way. Why don't you just teach them how to work hard?
Well, that's what again, when I hit that wall, I started having students come in, and I always told Maria, is if we don't have Chantilly, I want to teach. I think I am a very good teacher, and I take that because the mentors I had in college really took me on, and I went back to further back than Westchester, and I remembered how they treated me. And again, I know it's school, they have to be that way, but bringing kids into Chantilly and teaching them and telling them, one of the main things I tell them is that you're not going to be scooping cookies for the 3 months you're here. No, you're going to be exposed, because you're a sponge. You need to be exposed as much as you want, as long as you're willing to take in all that information and work beside me. That's crazy to think that when I went into Westchester as an intern, I got put doing the shit work, the scooping cookies or just making brownies, because someone just didn't, like me. And I would never want for someone who's in school or right out of school to feel that way. If they have the talent, or even if they don't, I'm willing to teach them and treat them with respect, no matter what entry level they are. As long as they want to learn, I'm here for them. And that's exactly what I tell every single student that we get here as an intern, is that you want to learn, I will teach you. You will work beside me. I'm not just sitting upstairs at a desk. I am very, very hands-on. And that surprises a lot of kids. And it makes me feel really well. Like, it makes me feel really good that I'm able to make some sort of tiny, tiny little impact in these kids' lives. So in a positive way, not in a negative way, like it's what it was done to me.
What made you change, though? You said that your sister Maria would say that you turned around 360 degrees. You hit a wall at some point. What was that wall? Like, when was there a moment? Was there something that happened that said, wait, I got to stop for a second. And
when we first opened, we had chef jackets with my name, executive chef, the tall hats,
that.
and it's now it's this. It's a t-shirt. I have jeans on. Look at my clogs. Like it's something that I came in with it not knowing, I guess, who I really was. And it was just, Marie and I weren't getting along. I was a complete asshole. Like, the way I was treating people. I never yelled. That's one thing that you can ask anyone whether they like me or not that worked here. I never yelled or got in front of their faces. Just because it's not a good feeling to have that happen. But it was just Marie and I were not getting along. And then just one day she said, "You're not a very nice person." And I'm like, what that's not true. I really am. Like, I love what I do. I love teaching. I just need to, and it wasn't like an automatic thing. Of course, I would snap back in and out. But thankfully, where I am today, I can look back and say, if I could have done things different when we first opened, I wish that, I would have. But then again, we wouldn't have gone through the amazing 11 years, up and down, everything that happened, and kind of really finding who I am. Because I am not that type of person that needs a label underneath my name. Like, I'm not. And I know a lot of people are. But that's not important to me. It really isn't. It's important if you're a good person. If you're a good person and you treat people with respect, that's what's important. Not, a label to let people know I'm an executive chef. No, I'm a baker. I'm a badass baker who works really hard. Who gives a shit if you have someone gives you a title? So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So Chantilly has had, a lot of accolades over the years. You were shortly after you opened, voted best bakery in Westchester.
We really were, yeah.
Which is pretty major. I've seen. I mean, there's all sorts of articles about you guys, and there's a lot of stuff on the Cruffin and everything that you've done. What pushes you at Chantilly? Like, where are you trying to reach, or what are you trying to maintain? Because now you no longer, you work for yourself now, right? So you don't
Correct.
have somebody above you, evaluating you and criticizing. Now it's all about, making sure the staff is happy and making sure that the customers are happy. So, when you leave, you were where I am now, and that's the private club world. So, we have members at private clubs, but we're not exposed to TripAdvisor reviews and Yelp reviews. And I've experienced some of that before I went back to clubs. Where are you positioning your attention? Like, what's the measurement here for you being successful at Chantilly?
I would give you two answers. When we first opened, I would sit in this very own office and go through our Yelp reviews, go through our TripAdvisor reviews, and cry because there's insults. You work so hard, and I got like 2 hours of sleep, and I spent my entire day here for people to say, "Oh, we're too expensive," or "They're not good enough. They're housewives who need a hobby." And it's just like, oh my God, what did I do? Getting the Best of Westchester award like 2 months after we opened. Now looking back at it, it's kind of a joke. And I made a decision again one day to say, these people who sit behind a screen have nothing better to do will not rule my life. If they don't like it, you can go somewhere else, because I know deep down inside the product that we are producing and trying to put out there is the best that we can. Of course, our product has gotten a lot better, in the past, couple of years. But that's okay with me, because I'm getting, I'm always working at making it better. Now I don't care to look at the reviews. I don't care to answer to Yelp or TripAdvisor, because I know you have to pay to advertise for them to put all your great reviews out there. I care about the people that come in. If they do a complaint and they call me, they tell me, that's great. I accept criticism, because that's, for me, the only way to learn, to make sure that our product is up to quality. But I base it on, word of mouth. If people come in, they love our product, they tell us how it is. And I feel like in the past year, a lot of people have been more vocal with us. Our social media is growing a lot more. And it's not about the number of followers, because we've been open for 11 years and we're just about to hit 5,000. So it's kind of funny because, a lot of people focus on that, on how many followers you have and all this stuff. But I think for me and for Maria, it's more of a word of mouth. If people, come in because they heard from somebody else, that's great. But, regarding all these sites, I don't respect anybody who sits behind a screen to bash your business, because that could really be hurtful for someone, whether it's a truthful review or not. Just don't go back. Like, that's it. Like, you don't have to hide behind a screen, or call them and let them know, maybe they will take you seriously and grow from that experience or correct something. So I say F them. I really don't care. I really don't.
Yeah. I don't think people realize, how that all works. I don't think
they don't.
that there's a pay to play aspect to it.
Correct.
You can make sure that all the positive reviews are at the top. And
it's been years since I've gone on our Yelp. Before, when we first opened, you can see like 7 reviews, but underneath it's like 27 hidden reviews. And because a computer analyzes it and they think because this person only left 1 review, it's a robot or whatever. I just think it's ridiculous to have someone look up Chantilly, and I don't even know how many stars we have, but it really doesn't matter, because if you want to come in and you'll see that our product is good, then that's great. If you don't like it, then don't come back. Just go somewhere else. I just don't like those sites whatsoever.
Yeah, and I would venture to say that most people who take the time out of their day to sit down at the computer to type those things are I would say that most of them are probably not in any kind of a service industry.
They don't understand.
I mean, you could imagine if you had a desk job in an office, and maybe you're an administrative assistant or something like that. I mean, imagine if somebody stood over your shoulder and leaned over once in a while and was like, you're not filing those properly. Staple is way too close to the edge of that packet. And like it's like, come on, like people are working really, really hard to make something and have a livelihood for their family, and do what they love to do. And, and oftentimes too, what I've realized is a lot of the times, the food gets a terrible review, and it wasn't even the food that set this person off. Right. Because we did before I went back to private clubs and I was at Bear Mountain, we had our share of terrible reviews. And I mean, I remember one that really sticks out in my head. And it was something along the lines of, I would rather eat raw sewage or something like that. Like it was so out there.
Damn.
And I actually laughed when I read it, because number one,
Correct.
I'm pretty sure no matter how bad you thought this meal was, you probably wouldn't prefer to eat raw sewage, if I take it literally, right? But we tried to track those things and to see like, who was this? Let's see if we could kind of figure out who this person was, see if we could remember anything about the night. And a lot of times it was like the person who typed something like that, we remembered, when they came into the restaurant, they weren't happy that they had to wait a little bit longer for a table. And then when they sat down, they asked if we could turn down the air conditioner because it was too cold. And they just seemed not happy. And then after that, you're not making them happy. There's nothing, that you could serve them at that point that's going to make certain people happy. So, they're still buzzing from the wine or whatever they were having, and they sit down.
It's a great idea. Let me do this now.
They sit down at their computer and they anonymously
that's even
destroy somebody's livelihood with words on a computer screen.
And then there's those people that go on Yelp. They have to read these reviews before they go somewhere and try it out for themselves. So again, and I'm mentioning it like for the fifth time, is the one review that sticks out for me is that Maria and I are bored housewives who have nothing better to do, who can only open a certain time and then they go back home to their kids. And it's like, I cried in this office so many times reading these reviews, and I wonder why. And I did the same thing. I was like, all right, so this person, why didn't they like the croissants? Maybe we should look back at the camera to see that what they would look like or whatever. And it's like, what am I, crazy? Who gives a shit? Like, let's go on with our day and focus on something that is so much more productive than this crap.
Yeah.
So that's where the Yelp reviews, Trip Advisor, whatever it is, went to the back burner. Awards, I don't care. We are doing our best here. Let's focus on what's important and let's move forward. That's it.
Wow.
That was probably it took me until the second year. Because, the first year of business, you want to make sure you do everything great. You stand by everybody. You are proper. No, like, goodbye.
Do your thing. Yeah. I mean, in reality, you have forgotten more about croissants than that person will ever know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. So let's go. I mean, there's a pandemic right now. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
What's going on in Bronxville, and what have you guys been doing? What have you had to do to kind of weather the storm, and how's things in that front?
I mean, it kind of, I'll never forget the day that I had to gather our staff and say, we have to shut down. And again, that day I had tears coming down my face because I had not a clue what was going to happen, as we still don't really have a clue what's going to happen. We have a little bit, more knowledge. But it was on St. Patrick's Day, and we shut down for about a week. And, being exposed to a virus that hit, people with autoimmune disease, it was very hard for me to be able to go out there because I also had to take care of myself. But we decided to open a week later only with pre-orders. And then little by little, Maria and I had to sit down and kind of take our entire business plan, or the way we ran things for 10 years, and see what worked. So we started with pre-orders, then we slowly started getting, a few months later, getting people to come up to our table to order things, for walk up. And now slowly starting to have 4 people inside the shop, little by little, come in and wait outside and have little events like Disney Day or Cruffin Day, with people keeping, so respecting social distance. But it's something that has not been easy. Customers come in and be like, hey, how are you doing? So glad you're back. I'm like, well, we really never closed. But it has not been easy. It really hasn't. We're literally right in front of, that's Disney Day right there. That was our first Disney Day. And it was one of the best days that I will ever remember in 11 years, because everybody around Bronxville really needed this. And they were so supportive, so happy to be able to come outside and socially distance, kind of have a party in our neighborhood. And it was a fantastic hit. It was really, really something that I'll never forget. But again, we're literally across from the train station, and there's no business from the commuters. Nobody's commuting into New York City. So we, have to constantly be thinking, what are we going to do in order to continue to bring business inside? It hasn't been easy, Mike. It really hasn't. It's something that has affected me, emotionally. It's very stressful to think that we don't know where our shop is going to go, not ourselves, everybody around, all the other business owners that I talk to around Bronxville, are having the same issue. So it's not like, oh, it's just us. No, it's everybody. So we'll see. We just keep pushing forward. And that's what I've always, told Maria, no matter what, me and you, we always push forward, and we continue to bring the best product that we can, even better, every single weekend to the shop. So we're just open Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays from 7 to 12. And of course, you get those people that are like, oh, you can't open 7 days a week. No, we can't. This is what's working for us right now. Was that a good impression?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah. I think I know that person.
So that's what's up.
All right. So for anybody listening who is within, I'm going to say within 2 hours of Bronxville, New York. What else are you doing on the weekend? You may as well pack up the family and take a long drive. And the end of that drive is a box of pastries or two or three or four.
My face?
Yeah, and Mariana's face. So it's 135 Parkway Road in Bronxville, New York. You got to check them out. The website is chantillybronxville.com.
Yeah.
So you can see what they're doing. You guys still have a gallery on the website where people can take a look at.
We do, but most of our work, most of our portfolio is on Instagram. It's like the one thing that we update the most as we, pretty much do all of our marketing. So Instagram is like the best way to see, any news, our portfolio, and any upcoming events that we have happening.
Yeah, and you can see the owners dancing in a car.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of crazy.
Delusional. That's like after a very long weekend.
And that Instagram again is at Chantilly Patisserie _ real quick before we end this thing. Tell me, and this is a broad question, I know, but try to narrow it down. First thing that comes to your head. What do you wish was different? And assume that we're not in a global pandemic. Okay. Pretend.
Okay.
What do you wish was different in the industry?
Crap. Just that is a very broad question.
There are a number of things I know probably on a list, but what like pops up in your mind?
The one thing that I've always dealt with and, expressed to people, and I'm probably going to sound like women, I wish there was more respect towards women in our industry. And, obviously as a woman, I feel like I was never really taken very seriously. So I think women need to really be known also for their hard work, not only being moms, but also being kick-ass moms, business owners, employees, whatever it is, that we have more than one job other than, being in the kitchen as a chef. We do multiple things at once. And I think more respect towards women is one of the things that I would say I wish I could see in this industry to be taking a little bit more serious.
We need to hand the world over to women. That's I know
Hannah agrees with me. So
that's my 2 cents there. It's time we admit that we need to hand it over. So last thing here, from a customer perspective, and this could be a combination of pre-COVID and post-COVID, but what do you wish customers had a better understanding of?
The hard work that goes into making this. I don't think customers understand that Maria and I make everything by hand. We roll croissants every day. We make our baguettes by hand. Myself and Maria make everything. We're not machines. I wish they had an understanding that we know exactly what goes in our product. You can't compare one croissant to a bag of croissants from a supermarket and tell me this is too expensive. No, I know exactly what you're putting in your body. Respect the skill, respect my work. And if you like our product, great. If not, keep your mouth shut, go somewhere else. Obviously I would never say something like that, oh, thank you so much. There's the door. No. But, a better understanding how our world works. We don't just come in, open the door at 7. No, we started a shift 7 hours ago. Don't complain that we are open till 12 only. No, get your little butt up. Maria always tells people, well, we come in really early. You can get up at 7 and come get a warm croissant, she's really awesome when it comes to telling people off, but in a really great way.
Yeah, the timing perception, I think in all aspects of our industry is pretty wild. And I hope that COVID helps with that. And I hope that people are starting to realize that you can't just walk into a restaurant or anywhere and expect to have exactly what you want
demands
at that moment. I mean, the way I look at it is, if you feel like you're waiting too long for your food and you've been waiting for 15 minutes and you wanted your food 15 minutes ago, you should have showed up 15 minutes earlier and you'd be okay, but it's like once they enter the doors, it's, you're on my time now.
There's a lot of demand, correct? Like I'm serving them. No, we're in the same level. Like you're here to experience something, that I'm about to give you a great experience, no matter what kind of day I'm having. And this is something I have to work on a personal level, because I keep bottling things up. Like I will have a smile on my face because they deserve to have the great service. And it's not like a fake service. No, I enjoy talking to the customers. And now, more that we have no staff, retail staff, everybody gets to see my face and Maria's face more. I enjoy giving them an amazing product with an amazing service and an honest service. So, when people come in demanding, that's just no, like, I don't think so. I'm not going to take your shit. Like, let's work through it. If you forgot to order your, anniversary cake for your wife and you need it in about 5 minutes, no, Maria cannot go downstairs and bake you a cake. Like, there's no respect there. And I think that needs to change, understanding of how our business works, or our industry works, and respect towards, the women behind the counter.
Yeah. And there's a third woman, right? Your mom is also a co-owner.
Correct. Yes. She was here. Right. And, she is one of the reasons why, I am the woman that I am today. Obviously watching my parents work their little butts off when they first came into this country, but she is one of the reasons why I'm such a strong woman today. And I will never, take that for granted. And that's why I always continue to push forward. But she was in our shop until 3 years ago when Emilia was born. And, she takes care of our kids when we're at work. And that's, again, not because she's a woman, she's stuck at home with kids. No, that's a full-time job, within itself. So,
yeah.
And which allows me to create these delicious pastries.
Awesome. So many reasons to check out Chantilly. Number one reason being the incredible pastries and baked goods that they produce every day. But, if you want to see and be inspired by a true powerhouse female team of entrepreneurs that have started something really amazing, you got to go check it out. It's an incredible place. And incredible people. So I hope everybody listening checks it out. The links, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll have the links for the website and Instagram and the address in the description below. And I hope you get out there. Mariana, my friend, I feel like we could talk for a whole other hour if we
could. Yeah, it's usually always been that way. I could always talk to you.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a sequel. Maybe we'll do like a post-COVID sequel, so we could
that'd be great.
We could see what you're doing after we get out of this craziness.
Sure.
And thanks for taking the time. Say hi to the family for me.
Thank you. You
keep
too.
Doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring people and feeding people deliciousness.
Thanks.
And we'll talk soon.
You got it. Thanks so much for having me.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Kitchen Brain. Kitchen Brain. Kitchen Brain.